Hey everybody, welcome to the Backpacker TV live show where we try to inspire you, we try to motivate you to get out there, put a backpack on, get out into the wilderness, and where we teach you how to trust the trail. My name is Scott. I'm with Ariane Petrucci, who is actually backpacking at the Appalachian Trail as we speak. She's in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park, probably embracing some weather suck, some wind and some rain today. Today's show, we have a great show. Today specifically, we're going to weigh your food bag. How much should your food bag weigh when you go out and you go backpacking, whether it's a weekend, whether it's a multi-day, multi-night trip, or whether you're getting ready to thru-hike or do a long distance backpacking trip? How much should your food bag weigh? What should be in your food bag? Where is your resupply? And we're going to go over calories versus burning calories and how to lessen your weight and still get what you need. So anyway, we're going to start the show. Really, really good to see everybody, and let's go. Okay, so this all started a few weeks ago when Ariane started backpacking the Appalachian Trail. We saw a lot of different food bags out there, and we saw a lot of really super heavy food bags. And I guess the reason why I really wanted to do the show was because there's so much food out there in your first 100 miles of the Appalachian Trail that it's almost too much, and people are carrying way too much weight. And when you carry too much weight, what happens is you start getting a negative attitude. You start you're making your hike harder than you need to, and we see a lot of people get off the trail. Not only do we see people get off the trail because their pack is too heavy, their food bag is way too heavy, but we start seeing food left on the trail. People that are supplying trail magic and giving away food, and they eat that, and then they're carrying this 10-pound food bag when resupply is only a few days away. So that's specifically why I wanted to do that show. The other reason was because there's a lot of different ways to feed yourself on the trail. Especially on the weekend. I'm going to go over the difference between what food you should bring on a weekend hike and what food you should bring on a long distance hike, because it does matter, and it's going to save you a ton of weight in the long run. So I want to do that for sure. We have our gear cam all set up. I'll show you the gear cam. Today, this is what we're going to go over. This is going to be a typical one day, one night worth of food, and then we're going to measure the food bag, or we're going to weigh the food bag and let you know how much one day worth of food is, and then we're going to go over what foods you should have. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to show everybody how to do that. I want to welcome my Facebook friends, my Facebook outdoor community, YouTube. Thank you so much for everybody on YouTube watching. Really appreciate all the comments and everybody's interaction with our videos that we repost to YouTube. So thank you so much for that. We are going to talk about food. So kind of let's get started. Thank you, Juan. Oh, good to see Juan here. Thank you so much for coming in. Juan's in, I think Juan, you're in Costa Rica, right? I think so. So thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, so let's talk about food. So let's talk about the difference between a weekend hike and a long distance hike. And let's talk about the reality of, and for example, we're just going to use the Appalachian Trail because we live, coming from Atlanta, we live right here. So we're going to use that as a multi-day hike example, and we're going to use just a weekend hike, Trail Anywhere USA, right? So let's go over the difference between your regular freeze-dried foods and what foods you eat at home, because that is hugely important. When you're going to do a weekend backpacking trip, let's say you're going to go leave Friday, you're going to go out there Friday night, you're going to hike all day Saturday, you're going to have like half a day Sunday, and then you're coming home. you do not need to go out and buy $30 worth of freeze-dried food. That's number one, okay? That's not going to do you any good. You will not burn any significant amount of calories that your body is going to go under, or is going to undergo a change. So that's the first thing to look at, because it takes at least 3 days for your body to start undergoing a metaphysical change is how you burn your carbohydrates. Remember, carbohydrates turns into glucose, turns into sugar, and turns into fat. So if you are going to go on a long weekend backpacking trip, let's even say 3 nights and 4 days, right? You do not have to pack a lot of food at all. So let's go through that first, and then we're going to go into a long distance hike where Ariane is hiking the Appalachian Trail, and tell you the difference between how she stepped up her food process into a high rich calorie food intake rather than when she first started. So if let's say we're gonna go backpacking this weekend. Everybody that's on, Jake, Juan, Lori, Rick, Richard, Becky, we're all going backpacking this weekend, okay? What should we weigh with our food bag and how that should weigh? First of all, don't go out and buy a bunch of freeze-dried food, because you don't eat that at home. Normally what I do is I just bring the things that I like to eat at home on my trip. So we're leaving Friday. We ate breakfast Friday morning. We may even stop for lunch Friday afternoon. We get on the trail maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So what do we have to worry about? We have to worry about a dinner. We have to worry about maybe drinking something at night. We have to worry about breakfast in the morning. We have to worry about a snack. And then we have to worry about lunch and dinner. So let's just go with 1 day first, okay? And I'm gonna show you how to pack your food bag and how much should it weigh. We're gonna weigh it. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to buy, I'm gonna go to the gear cam real quick. I like to buy these Knorr foods, okay? I eat these at home. The really cool thing about these things is that I can divide this bag. Okay, I can divide it into 2 meals depending on how much I normally eat. Now remember, when you are out there for a weekend, you are not, I repeat, you are not burning a ton of calories. As a matter of fact, in the summer, if you go backpacking in the summertime, you're probably going to lose your appetite. Okay, so let's go with that right away. So we're going to take Knorr's. Now, with the Knorr's food, I'm going to switch back and forth, so kind of bear with me. So with the Knorr's food, right, you can't pour hot water into this thing, right? You can't, how do you eat this thing? Well, you're either going to put hot water in a bowl or you're going to put it in something else. So what I normally do is I usually take a plastic baggie. This is a freezer bag that you can get at Hefty. You can get this at Ziploc. It's just a freezer bag, and I can pour hot water into these things, right? Or, and this is a really good tip for everybody, or recycle your freeze-dried bags from Mountain House, from any of the other different freeze-dried food providers or dehydrated food providers. If you go out and buy these things, save them. Save them. Don't throw them away. Because now I can take my Knorr's and I can pour it into my recycled bag that I washed and cleaned. And so now I've got 2 meals instead of 1. Okay? So this is, I just take this, I divide it into 2. This takes 2 cups of water, right? So if I divide it in half, it's 1 cup of water. Okay? That's all you need to do. So I've got 2 meals, I've got 2 dinners with 1 bag. This costs, by the way, $1. Okay, so recycle this. If you don't have one of these, just use a regular freezer bag from Hefty or Ziploc. You can pour, these are microwavable. You can pour hot water. I've used these many times. They're safe. So I'm going to take these. I'm bringing these with me. This is on our backpacking trip. This is my first night meal. So what am I gonna have for breakfast? I'm gonna have breakfast, wake up the next day. This is oatmeal. This is usually just a regular piece of oatmeal that, that we buy. Ariane hates oatmeal now. I actually still kind of like it. Instant grits, oatmeal, anything works with hot water. The reason I like that is because I can multi-purpose my water in the morning. I always have coffee, always. So I can boil my coffee water, but then I can add maybe like a half a cup more of water, and I'm boiling it all at the same time, right? So now I've got my hot water for my grits or my oatmeal, and I've got my hot water for my coffee, okay? So I've got my coffee. That goes in my food bag. I got my breakfast that goes in my food bag, and now I need like a snack or a lunch, right? So normally what I do is I usually buy like a tuna, chicken, pink salmon. This is great protein for you, gives you a lot of energy, and I take like maybe a little mayonnaise packet that I get at Chick-fil-A, and I put it in there. So I've got my lunch. This is really, really healthy. It's a really good pick-me-up. With the mayonnaise, it gives you a lot of fat content and a lot of oil. Remember, mayonnaise is made out of olive oil, so it's good for you in a way in moderate amounts, absolutely. And so that goes in my food bag. So I want a snack. What do I want to eat for a snack or lunch or something else? I love these little Jiffy peanut butter cups. These things really, really are good. I just either eat these with my finger, or sometimes I put a spoon in there, and I eat those. So, and for at night when I want some liquid, I'll bring like a little tiny, I don't know if you can see that. I bring a little tiny like powdered drink mix right there. If you can see that, it's a little powdered drink mix that you can buy at Kroger. This is Orange Crush right here. So I got this in my food bag. So that's it. So I've got one dinner, I've got one breakfast, I've got one lunch, I've got a pretty good protein snack, I've got something to drink at night. Instead of drinking water, I'll drink maybe like some Kool-Aid or Crush. I've got my extra bag. I can actually divide one meal into 2 meals. So that's 1 day worth of food. Now, this is how you do it. This is how, when you plan your meal and you're going to put this in your backpack, this is how you plan it. Here's my food bag, okay? I'm going to throw everything in here. So I've measured it out. This is what I'm going to eat for 1 meal. I'm going to throw this in my food bag. Here, I'm gonna tie it up with my food bag, and now let's weigh it. Now, the industry standard for how much your food bag should weigh is 2 pounds per day. That's 2 pounds of food per day you're out there hiking. For Appalachian Trail Thru-Hikers, you calculate how many miles or how fast you're hiking per hour. I'm hiking 2 miles per hour. How many days you're going to be out there until resupply? I'm going to be out there 4 days before resupply. So then you calculate, well, if I'm hiking 2 miles per hour and I have to hike 38 miles to get to resupply, right? How long will it take me to get there? And how many meals is that in between that I have to plan for? So on average, you always hike about 2 miles per hour. On average, if you're hiking 30 miles, to your next resupply, and you're hiking 2 miles per hour, and you're going to hike 5 hours during that day, that's what, 10 hours, right? So you plan, or 10 miles, I'm sorry. So it's 10 miles, 10 miles, 10 miles. It'd take me, maybe 3.5 days to get there. And that's how you plan your food. As far as you're weighing your food, the industry average says 2 pounds per day. So let's weigh our food, right? So got this in my food bag. I'm gonna eat here. I'm gonna turn on my little scale. Okay, so I'm weighing this right here with my scale. My scale says it says 1.4 pounds. Okay, so that is well below the 2 pounds per day average. I'm going to tell you why I would do that on a weekend backpacking trip. 1, I'm not burning that many calories. 2, I don't need heavy foods. If I'm going to be at my car in 3 days, then I'm going to go out and have a burger after I'm done with my with my backpacking trip. So I know where my big food is going to come from. I only have to plan those days and those nights of which I'm on the trail. I do not, and I repeat, I do not pack for the what if. I do not do that. If you pack for the what if, you're never going to be able to pack for enough what if scenarios ever. And what's going to happen is you bring extra food. Well, what if I'm out there for an extra day? Well, don't plan on being out there for an extra day. If you are, then maybe maybe you need to plan for that. Maybe like, well, I'm going to go out for 4 or 5 days. Well, then you would pack 5 days worth of food, right? So if you're only going to be out there for 4 days, only pack for 4 days worth of food. So that's 1.4 ounces. So what I do that 1.4 ounces. 1 pound, 4 ounces, I just repeat that. So now instead of bringing 2 cups of coffee, I'm bringing 6. Instead of bringing, 2 dinners, I'm bringing 3 dinners. And so you just exponentially plan those meals. And for every day you plan on being out there, you weigh your food back. So, if I'm going to be out there for 3 days, if we all go backpacking this weekend and we're going to be out there, for Friday night, Saturday night, we're coming home Sunday, that's 2 nights. That's 1.4 per day. So now you're at 2.8 pounds for your food bag for a weekend backpacking trip. That's pretty simple. Now, let's talk about the Appalachian Trail and talk about how you pack food for that, because that's a different beast. Let's go for a multi-day backpacking trip. Now I'm going to put this away for a minute and I'm going to show, I'm going to put that right here. We're going to talk about that. Juan asks, is that for a weekend? Yes. That's 1 day. That's just 1 day worth of backpacking for them. Then you exponentially add more food to that. But the point is to plan each meal accordingly and weigh that day's worth of food. So you have lunch, you have breakfast, lunch, snack, and dinner. Okay, and that's how you plan it. That's 1 day. So let's talk about multi-day hike, right? Multi-day hike is different, and I'm gonna kind of give you guys a tip and a trick on how to plan your food for a multi-day hike. So we talked about before as far as your calorie intake, and you do not burn calories in the beginning of your trek. So if you're going to be on a multi-day or long distance trek, okay, you pack about the same food. You just don't need that heavy burn some calorie count day. So if you take a typical freeze-dried food, let's just take this, okay, that's the Alpine Air. You're looking at 600 or 830 grams of sodium, 50 grams of carbohydrates, 8 grams of sugars. Well, guess what, you guys? If you take this on a weekend backpacking trip, you're going to gain weight. You're not going to lose weight, okay? So in the beginning, you pack small. You pack your pack with your day food. So let's go for the first 38 miles of the Appalachian Trail. I'm going to thru-hike it. My first resupply is in 38 miles. How much should my food bag weigh? Your food bag should still weigh the exact same amount as I just weighed my food bag, okay? It's 1.4, 1.5 pounds per day that you should be packing your food, okay? Do not go over 2 pounds per day. If you are a big eater, then have a burger or have your big meal when you get to your resupply in 4 days. You still have so much fat in your body that's almost going to be impossible for your body to start going into that stored fat in just 3 days. Okay, it's going to take a while. For a long distance hiker, it does start happening after 3 or 4 days. You start telling your body, hey, I need calories, and I need calories right now. So your body's going to wait a few days before it actually goes into that stored fat, into that stored area where its calories are, and its sugars are, and its fat is. So you just go light in your first 3-4 days of hiking the Appalachian Trail, and then your next resupply, then you start looking into the freeze-dried foods. And then you start putting that. Now, we are packed a little bit heavier. Yeah, you might go from 1.4 to 2 pounds per day, and that's okay. because you're going to be putting in better fat content in there. Now, what's some really good lightweight food to take while you're backpacking the Appalachian Trail and while you're going in there? There's some great food out there. So one of the things that I like to take for breakfast, I love to take my little bagel. This is my little bagel guy right here. And what I put on there, I put mayonnaise on there, or I take pre-cooked bacon. This is traditional bacon. It's all sealed and packed up for you. It's the instructions say, or the back of it says it can store up unrefrigerated below 85 degrees. So it's hearty bacon, probably not great for you. But on the trail, once you start getting after your 4-day, your 4-day hike, and you start going through, now you start making some food. Now you start eating some of that high calorie, food out there that will help your hike. So I take some bacon. I'll take like a little gonzo sausage. I'll put that up on here, a little gonzo sausage right here. These are great little snacks. That's going to go in my food bag. I'm going to maybe mix some couscous right in there. Now, couscous is very, very super lightweight. You can actually store it in your freeze-dried bags. And again, if you have bags that you have bought before that you can pour hot water in, save those bags. You do not have to throw those away. Mountain House, good to go. A lot of your Alpine Air food bags, they are recyclable. So keep those bags, do not throw them away, recycle them. Then that way you can pour hot water in your couscous. You could make, if you like couscous, you could make this whole box. This will probably make you, 4 nights worth of dinners. You don't need a lot of it to get a lot of impact for your dinner. So this is a great lightweight version if you like that. Another thing too is your Idaho potatoes. These things sell for 99 cents. They give you a lot of food. They only take 2 cups of water. You can split this up and have, your protein and your carbohydrates at night or during the day. Very, very lightweight food. And then I get a lot of questions. Well, I'm on a special diet, or I have to eat, I have to eat gluten-free, celiac. What should? For those, I recommend the Good to Go meals. These Good to Go meals, they are not freeze-dried. They're dehydrated food. You still can pour hot water into those. This is the Good to Go meal. The Indian vegetable rice mix. See that right there? It's really, really good. These meals are really, really good meals. And again, save the bag. You can pour hot water right in this bag and save it. So I guess the point is this, is that you have to be creative, and you have to rethink you have to think about your plan. You have to think about your food plan. Do not go over 2 pounds per day worth of food. You're gonna carry a heavy food bag. And when we took some Thru-Hikers into resupply, they were carrying bags worth of food, and they had just resupplied 2 days earlier. You just don't need that much food when you're backpacking the Appalachian Trail. You're going to be eating more snacks than big meals. Smaller snacks and more frequent snacks are much better than gorging food at one point in time. And that is going to help keep your pack weight low. Okay. So, and the other thing too, that I would definitely think about when you're planning, and I don't care whether it's a weekend trip, I don't care whether it's, like a multi-day trip or it's a long distance hike, bring food you like to eat. Okay. That's hugely important. So for Ariane, for example, when her and I went, we took our group down into the Grand Canyon last year. We brought a ton of oatmeal, right? We spiced it up by putting mango in it and pineapple and blah, blah, blah. Well, after 5 days of eating oatmeal, we got sick of oatmeal. I couldn't even eat it anymore. She brought a couple packs of oatmeal on the trail with her. So guess what? She didn't eat it. She doesn't like oatmeal anymore. So what happens when you bring food you don't want to eat, or you bring food that you normally wouldn't eat at home? What happens is that you don't eat it. So you open up your food bag, you're hungry, and you look what's in your food bag, and you're like, oh God, oatmeal, right? Well, you're not going to eat it. So what happens? You got to carry it. or you leave it in a shelter, or you'll throw it on the ground or whatever. I'm not saying everyone does that, but I'm saying people do it because they just can't eat the food that they thought they would like it, or they thought this is the kind of food I should bring on my hike, and then they don't eat it. So bring the food you eat at home and that you like on the trail with you, and put it in your food bag. Remember, in the beginning, the first 4 days of a hike, just lightweight food. I mean, you don't need much, okay, just to get you by. After the 3 or 4 days, then start really getting into the calorie intake, and maybe your freeze-dried or your dehydrated foods are the better way to go. And then plan your meals. Don't be afraid to open up a package and separate your food. The recycled bags, your recycled bags that you can pour hot water in, that is the way to go, folks. I'm telling you, that is the way you can have a lot of different creative meals. You can use one box like the couscous, if you like couscous, and you can have 4 or 5 dinners out of that and plan your foods accordingly. So let me take some questions real quick from you guys, and then we'll get into some Ariane stuff. As where Juan says, that's where the big problem. I always think about the what if. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to. It's hard not to think of the what if. There are certain geographic areas that you do kind of have to plan for the what if. If I ever have to put an emergency meal in my pack, I usually put soup in it. Like noodle soup, something really packageable, that's very lightweight, that to go to. Again, I guess I would stress that if you feel that you're going to be in an area that you're unfamiliar with, or that you have some fear aspect of having to plan for the what if, then my suggestion to you is make sure that people know where you are and you have a plan for exit, and maybe even have a GPS or something that you can let people know where you are in case you need that help. I don't really pack for the what if anymore. I just really pack for what I need. And I measure out all my food, and then before my backpacking trip, I sit and meditate as to, okay, I'm picturing myself eating lunch. What am I eating? I'm picturing myself having dinner. What am I eating? How am I cooking it? And then I go through that whole meditation process, and I envision myself eating the foods I like, and it really, really helps me. I'm a big bagel person. The reason why I bring these bagels is because they smash up, they smash up to nothing, but it's still a bagel. I can still make a bagel out of it. Put mayonnaise on it. Maybe I cook some bacon, put some bacon on. That's my breakfast. It's very lightweight, very, very lightweight to go. And it's really filling because I get my carbohydrates for the day. And then I get my little bacon protein for the day, and that gets me usually right up until lunch. I'm not a big snack eater on the trail. Even when I did my long distance hike, I don't really snack that much. And so, there you go. Any more questions? Hey, Stephen, good to see Stephen. We pick for what we fear. We pack for what we fear the most, right? And that's one of the things that we try to instill in people, is that just trust the trail. There's really nothing to be afraid of out there. Everything is supplied for you once you start really getting that confidence, and you start knowing that things are going to be okay. And I can tell you that the first 100 miles of the Appalachian Trail, if you're going to thru-hike, there is an abundant amount of food. And so, there's too much food probably. So, but anyway, that's what we're going to do. Okay. So, I want to talk, give you an update a little bit quickly. And I hope that helps people. I hope you kind of see how to plan your food and how to weigh your food, and what things you should put in your food, the difference between a weekend trip versus a long distance trip, and 1.5 pounds per day. If you're doing a multi-day or a short weekend hike, is perfect, and that's going to get you through, rather than when you get going on a through hike and you start burning a lot more calories, then you start choosing your food, and that may weigh a little bit heavier, but 2 pounds per day is more than adequate for you. Okay, so I'll real quickly tell you about Ariane. She is in the Great Smoky Mountain National Park. She's doing fantastic. I have not heard from her. There's a very little service in the Smokies. I did hear from her yesterday. She's making an incredible amount of time. I think she did about 14 miles one day. She about 17 miles the other day. and she's having a great time. So we're supposed to get bad weather and some thunderstorms today up there in the Smokies and very high winds. So if she's still up there, I'll hear from her. I'm assuming I'm not going to hear from her today, but she should be going down and resupplying in one of the resupply towns soon, or she's just going to hike all the way through. So not really sure, but she's doing great. The other thing I want to share with you is that we are sending out an email very soon. And I'm going to let you know about the prank I pulled on an entire shelter and Ariane on the Appalachian Trail. I started a rumor. The rumor took off. They did it. It includes Ariane singing on the trail and with everybody else that sung on the trail. And all I can tell you is that I got them to sing Muskrat Love by Captain and Tennille. That's all I can tell you. So I'm going to be shooting that video out with her singing, and I'm going to be shooting out how I pulled that prank off in our email that's coming up very soon. So please subscribe to our email so you can see that. It's only going out to email subscribers only, nobody else. We're not putting that on social media. So you want to see that video. It's hilarious. I can't believe I got people to do that. And I got a whole shelter to download the song and practice the song. So I think it's it's a great prank on the Appalachian Trail, and it's taken off. So I'm going to share all that everybody with you. Thank you so much for watching the show. I really appreciate it. I hope I kind of cleared up some weight issues with your food bag, and what the differences between a weekend, a multi-day, and a long distance through hike, and what your food should weigh. I hate to see a lot of wasted food out there. I hate to see people leaving food on the trail because their food bag is too heavy. So if you have any comments, I'm going to put some links on this post on where to buy some of this food, especially the Good to Go meals, the Alpine Air, and the Mountain House stuff. And if you have any questions, I always answer all the posts at the end. Please subscribe to our email list. The prank email is coming out in the next couple of days, so make sure you are on that list so you can see Ariane singing on the trail. So make sure you get that on that list. And anyway, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Richard, Steven, Juan, everybody, thank you so much for joining in. We will see you next Thursday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And remember, trust the trail. Put a pack on and get out there. Thanks, everybody.